Every man has illusionary options. And an illusionary option is a woman that you really like for superficial reasons. Nothing concrete. You don't like how she thinks, you don't like how she talks to you. You just like her probably because of how she looks and how she always dresses and maybe because she texts you all the time, call you all the time. She's an illusionary option. Also, your baby moms, ex-girlfriends, and cut buddies, those are also illusionary options. Because realistically speaking, men don't just decide to themselves, you know what? This cut buddy of mine that I keep having sex with ever so often on and off for the last 5 years, we should just stay together and have a happy relationship. We don't do that because if we really wanted to be with her in the first place, she would have been who we are pursuing consistently. And the reason men don't pursue these particular women is because we know they have problems. And the problems that we have are part of the reason why these women continue to have problems. Because seriously, there are a lot of women out there, especially if you're a black male and you have some sense, you're tall, dark, and handsome. You don't even have to have all that. Even if you're just a black man who, you might even be what they consider to be a thug. You're going to have options. And options are available to you because, why? There are a lot of women out there, and the world as it is doesn't really promote people staying together for a long time. So relationships expire and new people hit the market every so often. Options are available for most men. I'm not sure if I could say the same for women, but I'm not a woman, so I ain't gonna say that. But the bottom line is, with all these options that men have, a lot of men like to keep around these illusionary options. And these are the women that show you a lot of interest, may have sex with you. You may have great sex with them, but for whatever reason or the other, that the relationship is just going nowhere, but yet still you keep them around because why? Maybe one day, she might open up the back door and let you come on in, especially if she just got out of a relationship with a guy who broke her little heart. She'll let you right back in because she's recycling you. You're recycling her. It's much easier for you to get with her when she hits you up rather than to get yourself together and go out there and find somebody new. You see, a lot of guys keep these illusionary option women around simply because they don't have the self-confidence to go out there and find someone new. And a lot of guys are just not dealing with that from an internal perspective. When I wrote this book, Hard on Break, I had to deal with that from an internal perspective because I always consider myself a great catch, but for about 3 years, I didn't behave like a good catch. And I kept options around, options who I would not choose in the first place, just as a backup, just as a resort for when, I haven't had any in a while, I know I could get it from her. And I don't know a guy who doesn't have some of these illusionary options that I'm talking about right now. The real truth about these women are they're extremely damaged. And I know firsthand because I am still in a relationship with an illusionary option. Now, she's the type of person that both of us would literally look at each other after sex or before sex and say to ourselves, me and you together? Ha ha ha. We'll laugh at that shit. Seriously, because based on where we were coming from, we know good and well that we weren't supposed to be together. And that was when we didn't even have a clue about who we were on a personal level. Now, fast forward to I see why she was just an illusionary option, and she sees why I was just an illusionary option. Because despite whatever good I bring to the table, the simple fact that she is not my first choice, she'll always remember that. Women always remember when they're not your first choice, and they're gonna make you pay for that. Because if anyhow, you had relationship, you broke up with somebody, you went back to talking to her, you probably hit it a couple of times, and then you moved on to another relationship. She's going to remember that because she's going to say to herself, well, I'm always good enough for you to come back and fuck, but why am I not good enough for you to be in a relationship with? These type of women are the women that men end up burning the worst, because a lot of the men that are dealing with these women, they have issues themselves. So the issues are just being wrapped around each other and no solutions are coming. So I say the illusionary options, it's better for you to just cut them out of the picture altogether. I don't care how good the sex is with the ex. I don't care how good the sex is with the baby moms, because the baby moms is like the most illusionary fairy tale unicorn of them all. She's your baby mom and not your wife, and you're not together for a reason. But nonetheless, the idea of being able to wake up next to your child is tempting enough for you to consider her over and over and over and over again on a repetitive dysfunctional cycle that really fucks both of you up and leaves her in a position where she's less likely to get married and even move on after you. But men, we don't take responsibility or accountability for that, because we are not cutting these women off, and we should be. Illusionary options are women you only want to screw at night. Why are we settling for them? We have to realize that something is wrong when the illusionary option is the only option you have. When the illusionary option becomes the only option that you have, it means that you are not doing the self-work. You are not setting yourself aside from everybody else, from everything else, to develop yourself to be better. Because if you don't develop yourself well enough, you are going to consistently go back to these illusionary options, and there's no question about it. If you don't invest more in yourself to make yourself more attractive, not only to yourself, but to others as well, then you will never outgrow those illusionary option women. Illusionary option women, they will text you at nighttime. They will send you some naked pictures every now and then. They will always make sure that you don't forget them, because they can't even stay in relationships for that long. So they're going to be cycling in and out of these relationships, and you're going to have the opportunity to fuck once every 6 months, once every 2 years, whenever they come out of a relationship, because they just can't get enough of you, or whatever the case is. The level of dysfunction that's involved in these type of women are just off the charts. And I'm telling you straight up, it's us men who are prolonging these relationships with these women. We're the ones that's making it hard, because we know good and well, man, if I had the choice to be with anyone, I would not choose her. But nonetheless, she's easy, the sex is good, and it's very, very convenient. I mean, you hooked up with her for the first time 2 or 3 years ago. You're hooking up with her again. You don't even have to take her out. You don't even have to spend any money. And if you were good in bed, she'll come calling you every single time. And I know that. And every guy knows that as well too. If you handle your business, your illusionary options, they're not going to want to go anywhere. But the real truth is, the challenge that men must face is the ability to close the door on these women, to shut it tight and never bring them back in the fold again. Because realistically speaking, if you have the skills to go out there and engage new women and bring up new conversations and get new women into the fold that you want to consider to be with, then you will do that. And you will do that on a consistent basis, and you will kick out the ones that do not qualify and do not meet your needs. See, but you really have to know what your needs are. If you don't know yourself, you don't know your purpose, you don't understand why you're here, you don't know what kind of woman you need in your life, then the illusionary options just cycle in, because you don't have the time, the energy, or the focus to find that woman that's best for you. So these illusionary options, though, they get very dangerous if you let them get too close inside of your circle. If you get your illusionary option pregnant, you might be over. You're going to have to do everything in your power to make sure that this woman doesn't send you on a spiral down. I just want to warn y'all about these illusionary option women. They're easy to talk to. Every now and then when you feel down, you may even consider being with them. But the real truth and the real thing that you must really focus on when it comes to these women is just this simple fact. Is she your first choice? If the answer is no, leave her alone. Leave her alone. This is the best advice that has never been given to men. Don't have sex with her. Don't do anything. Because if the answer is no and she's not the one that you ultimately want to be with, she's going to know that. And if she doesn't know right now, she's going to find out. And when she finds out, she's going to be crushed. And chances are some women know that even beforehand, but still allow it anyways, because maybe you may seem like that trophy guy. And if you are that trophy guy, chances are you are even more convinced that this illusionary woman is not for you. A man should always be with his #1 draft pick. I'm not saying you can't have number 2s and number 3s, but I'm just saying you should always want to be with your top choice. When you're with your top choice and she knows it and you are also her top choice, that's when you have the opportunity to make marriage. You're not going to get it with your exes. You're not going to get it with your baby moms. You're not going to get it with your cut buddies that you've been screwing on and off for 5, 6, or 7 years. It's not going to come from those women. Those are the illusionary options that you've got to close the door on. Don't drag them through the mud, and don't drag yourself through the mud. Because the longer a man keeps up these dysfunctional relationships with these kind of women, it hinders his ability to have a functional relationship with the woman that he really wants. Because the woman that you really want is really not going to put up with some of the things that the illusionary option women do. So this is just another tidbit out of my book, Heart on Break. I hope y'all go ahead and get a chance to check out the book. It's a book for men who are ready to just put women on pause so that way they can get themselves together.